Michigan State University's Office of K-12 Outreach, bringing research, innovation, and best practices to educators across Michigan, the United States, and the world.
One thing I learned during my first year as superintendent here is that we have some of the most dedicated educators here in Flint.
Flint Community Schools started a number of initiatives this year under a new superintendent. One of those had to do with emphasis and a focus on data.
Last year was a good year. It was a good start.
So many times you only hear the negative. There's a lot of positive things going on in the Flint Community Schools.
We're changing. The district is evolving. And understand that I really need for all of you to come together.
Michigan State University College of Education, K-12 Outreach, does multifaceted work in the Flint Community Schools. Today, you'll see the leadership teams that we work with through the Fellowship of Instructional Leaders, who are a part of a Saturday cohort group that works with us with using their data, how to integrate it into their sessions, and how to really enrich their data walls. Dr. Hamilton is a principal coach.
My responsibilities are primarily with the two high schools, Southwestern, Classical Academy.
If you look around in our room, our data room, this room was totally empty last year.
And Northwestern High School.
I'm very honored to be here to share this information with you guys about what we did this year in Northwestern, which was what I thought was amazing.
From the very beginning, it started off with the administrators who had to embrace the idea.
One of my major goals was to have a data room, have a place where staff can come, have discussions about data school-wide in terms of where our students, where they're starting, and where we want to take them to go to be able to set some instructional goals, because we struggle with how do we move data conversations forward in the secondary level. And so for me, this was a major, major goal that I set about 3 years ago for myself in terms of having my teachers or having our staff beginning to use data on a daily basis.
And it's just awesome to see the change in the very beginning where it came from a concept to an actual practice.
We didn't start out when everybody's on the same page. When we start having this discussion about where our students are at, all the teachers, content teachers, auxiliary teachers, special ed teachers, and support staff, teachers can see these are all our kids. Those conversations became easy. And then when we started working together and looking at the data and analyzing the data as individual content, and then more so in our POCs, that enhanced our whole learning, teacher learning, the whole building.
Teams were engaged, the innovative strategies that each one used. Each one was kind of tailor-made to that particular building.
Most of the Flint schools this year had the opportunity to learn how to use a process called Got Data Now What? And it's a data dialogue, collaborative learning cycle led by their principal coaches and a Michigan State University team.
Initially, the data team helped the participants understand summative state assessment data and formative data with the aim of helping participants improve instructional practices and enhance student learning.
And the beauty of that is they get a chance to practice it, go back to their classrooms, give it a try, go back to their leadership teams and give it a try.
As grade level teams, we meet in here so we can have these discussions, go through an entire process of doing data analysis. Where do you think your kids fell in the reading test? And so we make those assumptions before we even really look at the data. And then we go ahead and look at the data from that first testing score we took in the fall. And then we say, okay, did our predictions match with what we actually saw?
And then they dig deeper to refine that data. And then they come up with statements. And after the multiple statements are made based on the data, they look and decide and narrow that down to the one statement that they're going to take through a theory of action that allows them to be effective in how they use the data. So it isn't just sitting around looking at data anymore. It's really a process that they take themselves through so that it becomes effective, meaningful, and measurable at the very end of their discussion.
Students wanted to know what was happening in this room, because they were seeing a lot of commotion, people coming in here meeting for PLCs all the time. They're peeking their head in and seeing some things on the walls. Well, I didn't take that test seriously. Or something would come out to where they realized, okay, you guys are actually looking at this data and you are actually doing something with it and making decisions.
It all goes back, and that goes back to ownership. Who owns this? And I like the way Mr. Green was talking about, everybody owns it down to the custodian. They own the data. This is what happens. This is our school. And it's all about how do we work together in order to make sure that our students understand it as well.
I didn't take it serious. I rushed through it. I didn't realize. And that's what we are trying to avoid, is those type of pitfalls. So the students will understand the importance of why we're doing this. We're not just sitting them in front of a computer saying, do this. There's reasons why. And this information is going to help us to help them with their education.
They did what was necessary, what was in the best interest of students, and you heard that. You heard that as you listened to them. You see it, in their eyes, and you also hear it in the passion in their voice.
We would start to have like the same type of data dialogue conversations that we had in our MSU talks. We started to have that same discourse in the classroom, and so the kids would see their progress either from their pre and their post test for their QRI, or when their NWA score moved, or just on the benchmark assessments that we would take on a monthly basis, to see them reflect the same type of practices that we had as practitioners, and they were doing it as kids. It was really super exciting.
And initially, because this was only with the leadership team, we're really pleased and proud in such a really quick turnaround time that those leadership teams are taking this back to their buildings, and they're using this in the math department, in the English department, in the science department. So they are owning this and taking the leadership role and continuing data dialogues throughout their disciplines as they try to improve their practice.
Some teachers have said, I've tried the group students, high, medium, and low. And I've had some, well, that didn't work. So I looked at, now I have them by wristbands. So that means the conversation is taking place, the knowledge is there, and people are using it because they've had conversations with me one-on-one about when I put them together this way, I looked at that way. And so again, for me, that is fantastic because that means that our staff is really embracing it.
Ultimately, I'm the principal, so all the data is mine, regardless of any individual teacher. It's all mine, but it's all yours too, because this is not Mr. Green's school. This is Flint Northwestern High School, and everybody that's part of that process. But the students, they're having more conversations now about data and about where they're at and where they need to be at. So that's what I was not seeing early on, but I'm seeing that now, and I'm seeing it now because students are telling me.
To start it from a concept and bringing your staff and getting that collaborative feeling and collaborative culture to get staff involved who may be a little resistant.
Our staff is really embracing it, and it's a learning curve for all of us. This is a process, and we know that we're going to get better and better each year as we continue this whole process around data.
They may have some concerns about the fact that here we have a new superintendent, this is another initiative. Well, I guess we've heard about data, but to actually begin to look at that and bring that all together is really incumbent upon not only the district leadership, but also the school leadership and the school leadership team.
We have a good foundation on how to move forward as a district, and more importantly, has an individual school at Northwestern.
This is a team effort. It's not one person, it's a team of us that have come together and said that we're going to make data a part of our daily instruction.
It has been a distinct, just a real pleasure and a privilege for me to work with those two schools and to see the progress they have made in working with data.
How do we take what we've done this year and take it to a deeper level?
As we moved along in the fellowship, we wanted to emphasize that there's more than achievement data that needs to be the focus of data dialogues. So a variety of data sources were introduced and discussed in an effort to have a fuller, richer picture of the students who were to be supported.
And so they now are looking at not just achievement data as they represent their data walls, they're adding that student voice as part of this process to where we're making sure that we're really impacting every student individually so that students can see their progress, parents can see their progress, and teachers can see how their instructions are impacting the students in the Flint Community Schools.